How Americans celebrated the holidays during World War II. Americans adjusted amid the war and found different, often leaner ways to mark the holidays. Less than 3 weeks after the December 7, 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor, Americans celebrated their first Christmas of World War II. On the surface, it didn't look much different than it had in previous years, as the bulk of the men and women who would serve overseas had not yet been deployed. But no amount of tinsel could alleviate the fear and uncertainty that came with the United States entering another world war. As the war ground on, US men and women were shipped overseas, food rationing began and Americans were forced to adjust. For those still in the United States, it was very difficult to celebrate, says Pam Fries, professor of sociology and anthropology at the College of Worcester. No matter where people were located during World War II, they were in survival mode. This was particularly true for women, she explains. Many women not only found themselves in the position of being the head of their household, but also being called upon to contribute to war effort by taking on production jobs in factories and other roles previously reserved for men. While their husbands were gone, women took care of their kids, they worked, they kept things going here, says Fries, an expert in the celebration of holidays and cultural rituals in the United States. They also, in their minds, took over the role of their husband and themselves at home. Back stateside, Japanese Americans who had been forced to move into prison camps used the holiday as a way to retain a semblance of normalcy. Here are a few examples of how Americans found ways to celebrate Christmas during World War II. Women stepped in to play Santa. A large portion of the workforce of fighting in the war, women took on a variety of both civilian and military roles that were typically filled by men, including playing Santa. There is evidence of this taking place even earlier, including a 1935 report that a woman impersonating Santa Claus had a heart attack and died while distributing presents at a New York City community center, but the practice became more common during the war. That said, female Kris Kringles were still novel enough to make the news. For example, in 1942, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle reported that a woman was hired to play Santa at a New Jersey F.W. Woolworth store in 1942 after management was unable to find a man suitable for the job, while an Associated Press photo featured a Lady Santa Claus listening to children's Christmas wishes in a Chicago department store. Outside of retail, some women donned the red suit for a good cause, like a Boston law student who helped the Volunteers of America overcome the manpower shortage in their annual Christmas collection in 1944. Not everyone was on board with women portraying the jolly old elf. This included a columnist for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, who, in 1942, described seeing a woman Santa in a department store, complete with cut-down gray whiskers and a pillow serving as her round belly, as the shock of his life, adding that he felt sorry for the kids of the day. Women weren't the only ones changing the public face of Santa Claus. In 1943, Bloomstein's department store in Harlem hired a black Santa, reportedly making it the first retailer in the country to do so. It's unclear whether the decision was related to the war, but by 1946, at least one other department store, located in Chicago's South Side neighborhood, followed suit.